Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our Great Indian Game series and Human Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and we're carrying on with Crazy Leela. Leela with the WDL Contempt feature activated, and if you want to know more about what that is, do take a look at the previous videos. There's quite a few of them now, and also my blog post where I explain what we're doing. But essentially you can set Leela to see your opponent as something like 300 elo weaker, and then it will suggest appropriate openings for you. And well, what I'm going for is an opponent 300 to 400 elo points weaker, and I'm getting Leela to suggest me all sorts of promising ideas, and the ideas have been simply fantastic. So well, we're busy with the Sicilian Najdorf at the moment, and we saw in the previous video that Leela recommended this move Queen f3. And we had a look at how Leela dealt with the top suggestion in the Hierarchs opening book. So what we're going to do here, we are going to have a look at the line that was recommended in a book by, a good book actually, by Milos Pavlovich, The Modernized Najdorf. And let's have a look how the game gets this far, and then we'll have a look at what Pavlovich's recommendation is. So the Najdorf with bishop g5, we look at the traditional line with e6. Nowadays also knight bd7 is pretty popular. Queen f3, and then h6 from Pavlovich. Well, we saw that in the previous game as well. But after bishop e3, it's not knight bd7, it's e5 straight away. And this is quite interesting actually, because it sort of transposes into something like a bishop e3 Najdorf. For example, I could have played bishop e3, e5, knight b3, and then the slightly odd move h6, which is then met by the slightly odd move queen f3. So, kind of hard to know who this is benefiting, but definitely worth investigating. So Pavlovich recommends b5, and it's a very natural Najdorf approach. The knight's coming to d7, the bishop's coming to b7, the rook's coming to c8. Got all this pressure against the e4 pawn, the knight on c3, and also b5 to b4 is happening. Very natural approach there, so was very interested to see how Leela would deal with it. So h3, played by Leela. Supports g4, of course, that's what we expect from Leela with WDL Contempt, or Contemptler as they call Leela. And it also prepares castle queenside. It couldn't be done before because of bishop g4 winning the exchange. So knight bd7 now, and now castle queenside. And that is a novelty from Leela. G4 was Pavlovich's line, but could transpose. But after castles, in principle, we're out of Pavlovich's book. Bishop b7, was pretty sure that's what he intended. 9 games still in the Lichess database, so still some games played with that. King b1 now from Leela, and we see this so often actually that Leela plays these slightly offbeat openings, but then just sort of keeps the tension. Consolidating moves, king b1, waiting to see what the opponent plays. Well, I mean, Pavlovich's idea was to go rook c8, so I thought that I would do that. It looks very, very natural. And, I mean, black has got a concrete threat here. It's rook takes c3, b takes c3, and knight takes e4. Quite dangerous. And Leela's move took me by surprise, I have to say, because Leela played the move bishop d2 here. So it has been slightly odd. We've gone bishop g5, then we've gone bishop e3, and then we've gone bishop d2. But yeah, still, I mean, for black, well, exploit it then if it's so strange. Not so easy. I mean, rook takes c3, takes, knight takes e4, always tempting, these sort of Najdorf sacrifices. But yeah, I've got a little bit, since an AlphaZero Stockfish game, I've got a little bit suspicious of these sort of exchange sacrifices if they're not accompanied by some sort of weakening of white structure. I mean, here white can play something like bishop a5, get the queen out of the way, and I'm not 100% sure that the black's got full compensation, although, it's obviously quite unclear. I was wondering about b4 as well, but it just seemed a little bit too quick. After takes, This bishop d2 turns out to be rather well placed, attacking the pawn on b4. And if you do something like a5, then bishop b5 is rather unpleasant. So what I decided was that I wanted to just try and well, develop my pieces and wait to see what white was going to do. So bishop e7 and now bishop d3 from Leela. And yeah, I wasn't really sure. I mean, I've got a choice of a number of decent moves. I mean, castle queenside is kingside is natural, but I was pretty sure that Leela would go g4, and I wasn't sure whether I was mentally up for dealing with that. b4 still this move knight d5. You know, it's still a little bit awkward for black. If I took, yeah, I was looking at knight f6. But then bishop takes b4, bishop d5 and queen e2. And yeah, this pawn's weak. This pawn's a bit weak. I wasn't really sure it was going to work out all right for me, really. I thought that white was going to end up with some sort of advantage there. I also thought about playing knight b6 or knight c5. But in the end, I just played queen c7, which is quite a nice little, you know, sort of solid little move there. Just getting the queen out of the line of the rook. Yeah, vaguely looking at c2, keeping all my options open, really. I was sort of expecting a3 here, just to stop b4, or maybe even something like g4. I was just planning to go knight b6, actually, and you know, try to get the knight into c4, which I thought was quite nice. But Leela played the move queen g3, hitting g7, and of course, you know, that's stopping castles because of bishop takes h6 there. Well, I went knight h5, and I was wondering whether, you know, Leela was looking for some sort of was just offering a repetition before carrying on with something. But no, this Leela with WDL Contempt doesn't really go for repetition stuff. Played the move queen g4. So I played knight df6, and now the queen came back to e2. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really given this that much consideration. I assumed that, you know, that, well, I just sort of saw it as sort of like it's a continuation, and black gets some possibilities, white gets some possibilities. You know, I just have to find something when it comes up. Quite interesting in actual fact. I mean, you know, the idea is that if I play b4 now, then knight d5 takes, and this queen's very well placed because it's supporting the bishop on d3 to attack the pawn on a6. So actually shifting that queen from f3 to e2 has gone quite well. I do have the extra possibility of knight f4, but then, you know, white could do something like taking and then bring this knight into play. You know, and well, that might be a little bit annoying. It's not probably not terrible for black, but well, you know, I don't have to allow that somehow. So I thought I'd just go castles and see what's happening. I mean, white's got a few moves there. He's got moves like g3 to stop knight f4 and a3 to stop b4, but he can't play them all at the same time. So, you know, I sort of felt that if white tried to stop counterplay with one, I'd have the other. You know, that was the basic idea. So, I mean, if you go g3, just to stop the knight getting to f4, I've got to be a little bit careful not to make sure this knight doesn't get horrifically out of play. But I knew that I always had b4 here. I mean, if the knight goes out to the side, I can start hitting it with moves like bishop c6. And if you go to d5, well, I just use that opportunity to get my knight back into play. And then the d5 pawn is hanging, and, you know, if you take there, then I think I just go knight takes d5 here. I'll maybe also have queen takes c2 check. That might well work out quite well in this particular position. Oh yeah, I think it rather does. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of good stuff there for black here. So g3 is not worrying, and if you go a3, I was actually planning to play d5 in this position. And if you do something like e takes d5, I go knight f4, takes and takes. And, well, this pawn is will be up for grabs. I'm threatening bishop takes a3 because the knight on c3 is weak. I thought I'd have plenty of compensation here. You know, I thought black would be doing quite well. So that explains why Leela played rook e1. You know, my problem is that, obviously, the rook and the queen are lining up on the bishop on e7, so d5 ideas aren't great. And I was a little bit worried about rook e8 here. I thought white plays a3, and after d5, white gets this possibility of knight takes d5. If takes, I'm hitting that one and also hitting this one as well. So that's a little bit annoying. What I really wanted to do after knight takes d5 was to take, play e4, bishop's trapped, has to take it, and then I've got this sort of attack. I mean, I might have something like bishop a3. I was really trying to make this work because I thought it would be so good if it did. But actually, I just, after a move like queen d3, I just couldn't find anything else. I spent, a little while churning in my mind, haven't I got something? Haven't I got something? But I couldn't see it. White's a pawn up and just going to consolidate. So, yeah, I was, rook e8 was what I really wanted to play, but I couldn't quite make it work. So in the end, I went for something where I thought, well, it's not super, but it should. Well, it's probably going to be a slight edge for white, but I should be all right. I played the move b4 in this position. Knight d5. Okay, so I use my little trick just to get my knight active. White takes on b4, and knight takes d5. And well, I thought that white would be maybe a little bit better here. Well, he's got a tempo, and this pawn on a6, so it's going to be a little bit tricky to defend it. But on the other hand, black's position looks quite reasonable. I've got little knight f4 ideas as well. Shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, from here on, Leela just played really, really well. Really well, actually. And I just got kind of confused. So that was a little bit sad, really. So bishop a5 was Leela's first move. I mean, to be honest, every single move now has a very deep and precise point from Leela, and yeah, I just couldn't cope basically. So the queen is hit there. If I go to c6, then bishop e4 pins me. But it's no problem. I'd seen this. I just go back to b8, and the idea is that bishop a6, I go knight f4. Hitting the queen and the pawn on g2. And if you go queen b5, I've got bishop takes g2 here, because you can't take on c8, because I've got queen takes b5. Quite elegant, so very good position for black here. I was expecting g3, but I was thinking, well, maybe I go queen a8 or something like that. Seemed all right. I'll move my my knight out of the way, and I mean, I should be quite good. But Leela played the very irritating move bishop d2. Now that's covering this knight f4 trick, and it's also threatening bishop a6, but it's also threatening knight a5. And then you're going to win this light squared bishop, and that's a little bit annoying because, yeah, those two bishops are quite dangerous, and I don't want to give those away, basically. So yeah, a move like queen a8 now, knight a5 forces the exchange of bishops, and of course the a6 pawn is very weak afterwards. But okay, I had a clever little move, I thought. I go queen c7, and if knight a5, then I've got knight f4. Yeah, bishop a6, I've got queen takes c2 check, so that's that's all good too. But this move bishop f5. I sort of said, oh, okay, just attacking my rook, knocking it off the c-file, okay. But then the more I looked, the more awkward it seemed. It's very strange. I mean, obviously, rook d8, there's bishop a5. The bishop goes back again, and this is a very unpleasant pin to fall into. Actually, queen e3 is quite strong straight away. If I go to b8, then bishop a5 is very awkward. The queen's very short of squares, and queen c6, bishop e4. I'm pinned. I'm just losing a piece. Incredible, eh? If I go... so I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll go rook a8 then. But then we go knight a5, and we're going to be picking up this light squared bishop. I was wondering whether I could go knight f4 to go takes here. Queen takes a5. But I was getting rather nervous about my king side, to be honest. For example, even queen g4 here. And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Just felt wrong to me. I mean, I wonder whether I maybe should have done this, but anyway, I went rook e8. And well, the idea is that if you go bishop a5, I go queen b8. You go bishop d7, haha, picking up the exchange. But I go knight f4 now, and then I'm going to take this pawn on g2. And I was thinking, well, okay, I'll sacrifice the exchange. I'll have the two bishops, but I'll grab a pawn on g2. And well, the white's pawn structure is weak. I've got the two bishops. I should be all right here. But yeah, Leela didn't do anything. Leela just squeezed with g3, just basically took away the f4 square, and yeah, left me wondering what on earth I was supposed to be doing. The problem is that this knight is not good on d5 now. It doesn't have any good squares, so I want to move it, but I'm not quite sure where. I mean, knight b6 was what I really wanted to do, I thought. I'm aiming for c4, but I was getting quite worried about queen g4 and then queen h5. I mean, bishop h6 sacks are threatening, and my pieces are on the wrong place there, so I've got to be very careful about that. But if I go knight f6, I was kind of worried about g4, and then simply h4, and g5 or g5 immediately even. Yeah, I mean, simply it looks quite dangerous. So what I decided to do, but it starts to go wrong, but I'm just not really sure what I should have done. I played the move bishop d8. The idea is, I might go knight b6 later, and the bishop's protecting it if ever white wants to pin me. I might want to go knight f6 as well, and what I've also got is the idea of playing e4, just cutting off this bishop. Now, I thought it was a decent, flexible move, and I thought I was going to be dealing with it okay. For example, there's a few tactics as well. If c4, I play this move knight b6. If bishop a5, I go queen c4. That's the point of defending it with a bishop on d8. If you go bishop b4, I go queen c4 as well. And the idea is that I take, and I go bishop f3 and pin you like that. So, okay, I lose my rook, but you lose yours. And if you take, and go rook c1, it looks quite strong, the knight moves away. We take on d6. Then I go a5, and I'm attacking this bishop, and you can't put it on a safe square and keep pressure on there. So, I'm doing all right here. There's quite a few little tactical points there. If you go rook c1, just to defend the pawn on c4, I thought I could go bishop c8 in this position. Just get rid of that bishop on f5. And I thought that white was a bit better, but I thought that I'd be all right in this position. But yeah, Leela just kept on squeezing with this very unpleasant move, queen d3. And I mean, basically, I'm just really struggling to find any sort of plan. Yeah, I mean, c4 might be happening, bishop a5 might be happening. Yeah, this pawn on d6 is weak. Yeah, it's just really, really tough. I played knight e7, which was based on some pretty intricate calculation, which obviously raises the possibility that it's going to be wrong. And, well, that's actually what it turned out to be. I thought it was a decently clever move. Obviously, I'm threatening to take the bishop on f5 there. So bishop a5 was what I'd expected. Now, if queen b8, bishop d7 seems to trap the exchange. Now, I've got the move bishop a5 hitting e1. But now I would really need something clever after rook d8, queen takes d6. And I don't have it. I mean, I've got some sort of pin, but there's no way I can exploit it. So white's just going to be, yeah, just a pawn up with a winning position. But that doesn't matter, because I'm playing queen c6 here. So, yeah, I mean, what I was thinking was if takes, knight a5, I just go queen c7. Okay, you get my bishop, but I don't really care. I'll just take it back. My knight's a decent minor piece. The trickier thing I thought was bishop e4. And then I play the move d5 here. Bishop h7, king h8. Now, white can try and take this e5 pawn, but I thought I had, in the ensuing complications, the fact that this bishop's, out of the way on h7, I felt that should give me some chances. For example, if you go rook takes c5, I can take and go queen c7, forking these two. And for example, if you go rook e1, I go queen a5, rook e7, and queen e1 check, which is very nice. I thought the white's best move here was to go queen c3, takes. But I thought, you know, okay, white's a pawn up there, but you know, you've got these isolated and double pawns, so maybe I can play a move like knight c6, you know, or play a move like king h7 and knight c6, and you know, you're going to have to swap off, and then I'm threatening rook b8, so I'll be able to get my rook into e2. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't quite sure which way I wanted to do it, but it felt like I had chances to ruin white's pawn structure, you know, and yeah, I might well have chances to survive in some slightly worse endgame. But yeah, I hadn't seen what was coming, unfortunately. Leela played the move bishop g4, just these tiny little moves, and yeah, d6 is hanging here. And yeah, you know, if I go d5, then simply rook takes c5, and yeah, this is yeah, I don't have my bishop on prise or on h7. It's on the great square g4 basically. So we just take on d8 and then take on e5. So well, I played the move f5. I could see what was going to happen, but I couldn't see anything to stop it. Bishop h5 from Leela, just weakening my king side, which is rather important. And now the bishop comes back to e2. So d6 is hanging there, and well, white's actually got the threat of taking on d8, of going knight a5, of going knight b7, and then going queen takes a6. In some miraculous manner, the bishop and the queen have lined up on the pawn on a6. I mean, this bishop was over here on f5, and somehow it's come back to here, all with gain of tempo whilst weakening me. A little bit of wizardry there, and well, I mean, I played d5. I was sort of hoping that after takes and knight a5, queen c7, takes, queen b7, I'd maybe, you know, find somewhere. I've got a nice centre, you know, and well, these pawns are quite away from queening. I've got the a and the b files. Maybe I can create some counterplay. I thought maybe I'll have something here, but Leela rather depressed me by playing queen e3, and now you see why Leela threw in this move bishop h5 to weaken my king side with g6, and now h6 is hanging and e5 is hanging as well. And after queen f6, Leela took and played queen h6, and well, I was sort of looking at the position and I was thinking, well, you know, the really sad thing about it is I've lost h6 and I've still got my weak a6 pawn, so you know, knight c5 is going to happen, and yeah, I mean, I just thought I'm just going to get horribly ground down here, and well, I've got other things to do, other openings to investigate, so I decided to give Leela the win in this position, and I resigned. But yeah, you know, feel free to play this one out for yourselves if you feel like seeing how Leela would do it. But yeah, this was just very nice opening play from Leela here, and or rather, you know, play in the early middle game. I just found it. Yeah, found it quite hard just to get anything going against White's position, and you know, this play in the early middle game, you know, with rook e1, with all these little moves, bishop a5, and then bishop d2. You know, it was really nice, you know, and yeah, I mean, I really struggled there. I just had the feeling I was being, you know, sort of tweaked and prodded from all sorts of different ways, and it just got way too much. But yeah, I mean, you know, I hope that's instructive somehow. I mean, you know, this idea of Leela's, it's not destroying the Sicilian Najdorf. Well, how could it? You know, there's millions of computer analysis on this line. But this is clearly quite, you know, quite a dangerous line with a lot of long-term potential. And I think that seeing how Leela handled the middle game, you know, that can also give you a lot of confidence and a lot of ideas for playing this line in your practice as well. And as I said, this Queen F3 line, this was one that I definitely that I played a lot myself, and I really liked it very much indeed. So definitely a line with lots of interesting stuff. So there we are. That was Milos Pavlovich's recommendation against this line. I think in the last video I'm going to take a look and have a look at the recommendation that's in David Vigorito's book, and also in Anish Giri's Chessable course on the Najdorf, and we'll see what Leela comes up with there. There we are. You know, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give a like, subscribe to the channel, tell all your friends about this, and take a look at my new book, Silicon Road to Chess Improvement and Re-engineering the Chess Classics. And otherwise, hope to see you for the third and final video in this Najdorf series. Thanks for watching.